Hey guys, so I'm going to do an example that is directly from Khan Academy, just so that you all know how to do problems like this. So this question is asking which side lengths form a right triangle. So A, B, and C are both, or all three, the length of the sides of a triangle. So they're saying if these were the length of the sides of each of my triangles, which of them would be an actual right triangle? Okay, so the best way to do this is you want to take each one. So let's start with A, and you want to test it out using the Pythagorean theorem. So if we were to test it out, we want to first draw our right triangle, right? So we've got a side length of 5, 12, and 13. Well, looking at these numbers, which of those would be our hypotenuse? Well, remember that our hypotenuse is our longest side, so that means that 13 would be our hypotenuse because that is the biggest number. And so that leaves our other two numbers, 5 and 12, as the length of our legs. And again, it doesn't matter which one, but I'm just going to make the shorter one 5 and the longer one 12. Okay, so now we have labeled the sides of our right triangle. And remember that your hypotenuse is C and your two legs are A and B. So what we want to do now is we just want to test out each of these numbers to see if the Pythagorean theorem is true. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean. So remember, the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? So what we want to do is we want to take our a, square it, take our b, square it, and then take our c and square it. So if we start with our a, that would be 5 squared. Our b is 12 squared. And then our c is 13 squared. So all we've done is we've taken our values and just plugged it into the Pythagorean theorem. So now we want to check to see if it's true. Okay, and what I mean by true is if they're going to be equal to each other. So 5 squared is 25, 5 times 5. 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. And then we want to add these two together. This would give us 169. Okay, so now we have completed the equation. And as you can see, we have a true statement here because 169 equals 169. And because we created a true statement, we can go back to our original set of side lengths and say that A is a right triangle. How do we know? Because we tested it out on Pythagorean theorem and we got a true statement. If you were to test out, let's go ahead and test out B, okay? Just to see what will happen. Let's test out B and see what happens. So we're testing B, the side lengths 4, 4, and 8, right? So again, we're gonna draw our right triangle. Label our sides. Okay, so we know that our hypotenuse is the longest side, which means our hypotenuse is going to be 8. And then we've got 4 and 4, so it doesn't really matter which ones we label 4 and 4. So again, remember, hypotenuse is C, and then we've got A and B. So we're going to test out Pythagorean theorem again using these numbers. Okay, so we've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're going to take our values and plug them in. So we're going to start with a squared, which is 4. So that's 4 squared plus b squared, which is 4 squared again. And then c squared is 8 squared. So now we're just going to solve to see if we get a true statement or not. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 again is 16. 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, 16 plus 16 is 32. And then we just bring down our 64. So now we have completed the equation, but as you can see, we don't have a true statement. 32 does not equal 64. And so because the statement is not true, That means that our side lengths for 4 and 8 do not create a right triangle because it does not work with Pythagorean theorem. Thanks for watching.